out here. Ooh! Okay, hello, welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be in plant rescuing mode. I did film a video a couple of weeks ago, just talking through all the plants in my collection that are currently doing really well, and I will link that video below. But the reality of plants is that you can't have all your plants looking amazing all the time, and even plants that have previously done really well for you, as they continue to grow and change, maybe they're just not looking their best anymore. And so for me, it's always a process of sort of like assessing how they're doing and thinking about, if they're not looking too good, how I can try and rectify that. Can I make them look better? Can I refresh or restart that plant to give it its best chance of looking brilliant once again? So that is the thought process behind today's video. But before I get into the video, hi, my name's Alexis and this is Wild Houseplants. I'm a houseplant enthusiast and I also work as a houseplant technician, which basically means when I'm not looking after my own plants, I'm looking after other people's. If you don't follow me over on Instagram or TikTok, you can find me there at Wild Houseplants. And if you do enjoy this video today, I'd love it if you give it video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. And yeah, that's it really. So let's get into the video. I've got over here, I think 7-ish plants, and we'll just see how we get through them and try and get through as many as we can. Some of them will be quite quick. Others I've really got to try and like look at the roots, see what's going on. And yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so the first plant we're going to tackle today is a bit of a heartbreaking one really. It's my Pilea Peperomiodes, and I have been growing this plant for 4 or 5 years, and it has looked truly stunning at various points, and actually it looked truly stunning until recently. I'm not sure if you can see this all in shot. Let me just hang on one second. Right, I'm not sure you can even still see it in shot, but as you can see, what's happened is this is the mother plant here, and I staked it, and obviously this plant continues to grow and grow, and you'll have all these leaves at the top, but as the leaves drop off the main stem here, they don't really grow back, or they don't grow back. And so I've always encouraged, well, myself and other people as well, just to let the pups that these plants are so fantastic at producing, leave them in the pot, or at least leave some of them in the pot to fill out this bottom section. And this will kind of hide this woody stem. But she's basically had a bit of a growth spurt, and then also had a bit of a panic when I repotted her and lost a lot of leaves from this section here. And also she's growing a little bit wonky. So you've got hardly any leaves on this side and then like loads of leaves on this side. She's just not looking her best. And so I'm going to chop her. I'm going to chop her around about here. And then what will happen is this section here will put out new growth. And then I will propagate this top section, and that will in water, and it will grow roots really easily. And then I can then assess what I want to do about whether I want to put this cutting back into the same pot or how I want to do it. But she looked her absolute best a few months ago. But if I could have just like frozen time and got her to stay looking like that forever, I would have been more than happy. But of course the plant continues to grow, and it's just now got to this point where not even these pups can like hide the amount of stemage there is going on here. So even though it's a bit sad because she has been so beautiful, I just think I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I'm going to chop it, and hopefully at some point we can get her back to looking amazing again. So yeah, that's the first job today. Okay, so I'm going to start by taking off this wooden support stake, which has been brilliant, but I think she's just too long now, too big, lost too many leaves, and it's time for her next phase. Now, if I was just to let that go, it would probably just fall on the floor and it may well even snap. So I don't want it to snap somewhere that I don't want her to snap. So I'm thinking to cut round about here. Ooh! Okay. So that is her now. And what will happen is this cut will tell the plant to produce new growth, and it will start popping out new growth. And it may well look a little bit funky to begin with. And, you know, like many people say, and it's one of the things that Sydney Plant Guy always says, is that growing plants is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time to get plants looking amazing. It's not an overnight thing. So you got to just trust the process. So yeah, she looks a bit funky for now, but at least she's still got all these lovely pups here. I mean, some of these are actually like established plants now. But I love how they look like trailing down and looking all funky. And yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, I would have done this in spring and summer, but she looked amazing in spring and summer. So I didn't want to chop her then. And she doesn't look so good now. So that is why we are doing it now. So it might take her a little bit longer to pop out new growth. I'm going to put her up in the loft where there is as much natural light as I can give her, and just wish her all the best. I'm not going to repot her or anything else like that right now. I don't want to provide any additional stress, and she was repotted recently. There is a very substantial root system in here, so now it's just a case of popping her somewhere warm and bright and hoping for the best. So that's that section here. Oh, sorry. Just going to put that one to the side. And then when it comes to this section here, because you can even see like the new growth is like slightly curled. They're not nice flat leaves like that it was giving me before. And that does sometimes happen with Pilea, where when they first put out their leaves, they tend to be a bit like, they can be a bit curled and things, and then they can flatten out and get bigger over time. But yeah, I just think she's had inconsistent light because she sort of sits to the side of a grow light. And so I think what you can see is happening is she's grown like this way towards the light, and then this section has suffered. And like I say, she just lost like a huge amount of leaves. So anyway, I don't think I need all of this stem. So let's cut that again. Stick this bit into some water, a vase of water. It's really quite sticky. And then if I could shove that in a glass of water as well, just a little shot glass, and see what happens with that. That should also grow something. So maybe I will just do that. But essentially I don't want a really long stem and then roots down here and then for her to get all woody again here. So I want to chop this as kind of short as possible, where obviously she's got, if the roots form from here, she can be planted up and look quite established quite quickly. Yeah, okay, water, vases. Let's just do that quickly. Right, so this little one here, I mean, if you are worried about your cuttings rotting, you can always leave them out to callus over. And I would definitely recommend that for things like Monstera and cacti succulents. With Pilea, I mean, you can absolutely leave it out for an hour or a couple of hours to callus over, but I have never had an issue with them rotting. So I'm just going to pop it straight into a glass of water there. That's that little shot glass. I'm just going to put, obviously that doesn't look attractive, so I'm just going to put that out of sight somewhere and kind of forget about it. And then this, have I put enough water in here? No, I haven't. And actually this vessel is not going to work. So let me find something else quickly. Okay, hopefully this one will be better. Yeah, I mean, I could kind of do with taking off some of these bottom leaves just to make her a bit more secure, but they are some of the nicest leaves, so I'm not going to do that. But I need to put her somewhere where she's going to be fairly stable and not knocked over, because she's obviously very top heavy. But we will find you a spot. So yeah, that's that one done. Bit of a sad one, but like I say, like, you know, your plants can't stay the same all the time. So we move on. Okay, so I'm absolutely gutted because I just filmed 3 plants and my microphone ran out of battery, and so there's no sound on those clips, and I don't think there's any way of retrieving it, so I might just have to put in some clips and then talk through it and do an over talk, a voiceover on those ones, which I'm so just really upset about. But anyway, that is what it is. In case I don't manage to do that, the ones I quickly showed you were this one, which I actually didn't film today. I filmed this yesterday for a reel, but this is my Monstera Amydrium Silver, and it's been struggling for a while and basically just putting out runners non-stop. So I'd always planned to put it onto a moss pole, but just kind of hadn't got round to doing it. And I just got round to doing that yesterday, and you can see there's a little growth point there. But it just basically would give me a beautiful leaf, then a huge long runner, a beautiful leaf, a huge long runner. I just kept cutting it back. So I'm hoping that by putting it on a moss pole and its aerial roots growing into this moss, it might encourage it to focus more on leaves and less on runners, because it was receiving lots of bright light. So I think this plant generally can be a bit of a pain. But anyway, this is something I've been meaning to do for ages, which I finally got around to doing yesterday. So that was that one. I just wanted to quickly show you. And then we chopped up my Alocasia Dragon Scale, which has been struggling on and off for a while with fungal infections, and it had continued to spread. So I ended up chopping that one up, and that's the mother plant there that I've just basically popped into perlite, which is my go-to for any Alocasia issues with their roots, because there's quite a lot of rotten roots. So I've popped that one in there and chopped off the leaves because they were still struggling with that fungal infection. And then I've got 2 more corms in here, and we lost 1 corm because it had rotted. So we will wish these guys luck and hope for the best and see if we can get this one back. But if this doesn't work, I did, when I last repotted this plant, get lots and lots of corms. So if this doesn't work, I've got lots of babies on their way. So that is the other thing that I did. And then I also chopped up my Begonia Maculata because it was like growing a very weird way. I decided to water propagate the 2 top sections, which are these ones here. And I've managed to clip them just onto the back here, which will keep them looking a bit more sort of nice and upright. And then the bottom stems where there was like lots of new baby growth. There were 3 stems that had some nice roots. So I've just potted those up into soil, and I actually used the fern mix from SY Botanica, which is a company based in the Netherlands that kindly reached out and asked if I wanted to try some of their soil mixes. Like I say, this one is the fern one, but they have all sorts of different soil mixes, and I also purchased their Alocasia one and also their coarse semi-hydro, which I love in terms of like different types of semi-hydro. I always prefer to go really with the coarse mix rather than the fine mix, because I personally just find the roots do better in it than they do in the fine mix. But that's what I've been filming for the last, I don't know, half an hour or whatever, and is now completely useless because there's no volume in it. Anyway, I'm going to put these to the side and we'll carry on. There's always something when I'm filming. I'm notoriously unlucky, or maybe just bad at it. I don't know, but yes, should always check that I've got battery in my microphone before filming. Anyway, this one's been on charge, so hopefully this one is not going to flake out on me. And we move on. Okay, moving on. Microphone's still working. I've got this little fern, and when I bought it, it just said mixed fern or something like that. So I will find out, yeah, fern mix. I will find out what it is and put it on the screen. But it's just not been looking super happy. So I just thought I would give it a repot. And then I need to try and maybe see if I can get it into like, I was planning to get it in a terrarium and I just haven't got round to doing it. But again, because I've got this fern mix from SY Botanica, I'm going to give that a go and see how it gets on. And I think it's also been living in my bathroom, which I think has been fine. But it can get a bit cold in there. So I'm thinking maybe I just put it back into the loft room where it was previously and get it into my little, well, I think that's what it grew out of it. It was in the little IKEA greenhouse cabinet, but it grew out of that space. I'm just pulling out all the dead leaves here because it is a really pretty little fern. And I know ferns can be notoriously difficult, but I have lots that are also doing really well. Like I'll show you in a minute, well, I'll have to take the camera there, but well, it's not actually a fern, so that's kind of a lie, but it's called the asparagus fern, but it's not actually a fern. But I'll just show you that one because that one's absolutely going bananas at the moment. But my other Boston fern is on there. I've got another Boston fern up in the loft, which is doing well. So we do have ferns that are doing okay. I'm just chopping off any of these leaves that just don't look particularly happy or have brown growth on them or anything like that. And then we're starting from fresh, and I can keep an eye on like what is and isn't working. But there are lots of I love these little, look, do you see all those little new growth? They're so pretty when they're coming in with the little curly fronds. So there is lots of good going on in there as well. Okay, so I think that looks okay. And I don't think it needs pot sizing up. And I think this plant would probably be really happy in a self-watering planter, but I don't have one. So it's going to have to do with this for now. So I think it can go back into here because I don't like to overwhelm fern roots. Just pop some in the bottom like that, and then pop this in here, and then just fill around. I think again, because it's up in my loft bathroom, which obviously I go in there every day to shower, but I don't like hang out in there. And so sometimes the plants in there can get a little bit neglected because I'm just not, really, when I'm in there, I'm there to shower and then get out. I'm not really hanging around. So I think that's kind of what's happened, is that sometimes this plant has dried out too much. But the reason why I had it in there is because of the humidity. But my downstairs bathroom is actually warmer because it's got underfloor heating and you've got like the washing machine on. So maybe it might be happier in there. Both my bathrooms are north facing, which in theory is fine for ferns, because obviously they do grow like in their natural habitat, like underneath the canopy of all the other plants. And they definitely don't like prolonged periods of direct sun. But I think they also could quite like a little bit more light than what they're getting. But all those leaves there look healthy. I'm going to give it a little shower and just moist. I mean, the soil's already quite moist, but just get the leaves nice and clean. I might give it a little spritz with SB Plant Invigorator as well, just to keep up the humidity. And maybe I'll pop it into my downstairs bathroom. As I say, I spend more time in there because that's like our main bathroom. And I can have a little spray bottle in there and just spritz it. I'm not generally a fan of misting your plants, but I do think that ferns appreciate it more than any other plant. So yeah, okay, there's that one. Microphone's still working. Yes, yes. Okay, that little one done. Right, second to last plant is this little Pilea, and it's just never been happy since I bought it. It looked beautiful when I got it, and then where's my little tray? Yeah, I got it and it only cost me £3.50. So at the end of the day, it's not like the end of the world, but it does have these really lovely, very textured leaves, but it makes it quite difficult to like check for pests and stuff. So I don't know if it's a pest issue, although I can't see anything, but because they're so fuzzy and textured, these leaves, that it's really difficult to know what is actually going on with the plant. And basically just huge sections of it have just been like browning, dying off. And I've already cut off the top here. And then it's produced these two new bits, and it's flowering all the time, constantly flowering. And not really giving me any like decent leaves. And again, like looking at this, there's like loads of roots in here that all look fine. So I really don't know what it wants, but even the new growth it's giving me has got like white tips on it, like they're just going to die off. So not ideal. Yeah, so right, so I thought maybe the roots would be spent, but they're not. The roots look absolutely fine. You know, again, it's a bit like with the begonia. They're very fine and fibrous roots. They're very, very delicate. They could be very prone to rotting, but there's absolutely no rotten roots here. They're just a very fine root system. And I'm thinking it might benefit from going down a pot size. But yeah, like you can see that this leaf is dying off here. But can you hear this? Like, how do you even begin to like check for pests? I can't see anything. I'm actually just going to cut this main stem here again, because those leaves are dying back anyway, which leaves me with these two little stems here. This one's already got little leaves that are dying off. I don't know what you want. I don't know. As I say, the plant only cost me £3.50, so if it doesn't make it, it doesn't make it. And at the moment it's causing me more, well, it hasn't given me any joy yet. Because ever since I got it, it's just been like slowly dying. So we'll give it one last shot. I'm going to plant this up. I'm going to do a little bit more research on this plant and see if it likes high humidity. And if it does, I'm going to get it into a little glass cloche and see if that works. Yeah, I'm going to put it back in this little teeny pot here. And again, I'm thinking that I might just use this fern mix, because I think that will keep it nice and humid and moisture retentive. because these little roots won't do well if they dry out. Yeah, I don't know why it just keeps like, I mean, obviously it takes a lot of energy for a plant to flower, but that's what it wants to be doing at the moment, and I don't want to cut those off or anything. But yeah, rather pathetic little plant, but we will see. I mean, it's had good light. I don't know, it's been up in the loft. Maybe I just need to get it under a grow light and in a cloche and just forget about it for a while and see if that improves things. So that's that one. And the last plant is another fern, actually. And it is my bird's nest fern, which is a massive mess. This was once a very beautiful plant, and then it just started, you can see it started ripping and browning, and the main thing that normally happens with this plant, I'm just checking my microphone again, is people water into, so this plant produces new leaves from the center of it, and normally what happens is that people water it, the water sits here, there isn't enough airflow indoors, and this center bit here starts to rot. And once that center bit there starts to rot, the plant is basically on a path to death because it can't produce any new growth because the center bit is rotted. And obviously outdoors, there's just so much more airflow that would dry out. Obviously it would get rained on in nature and that would dry out. But indoors, that just doesn't happen. And it is producing new leaves, like that's a new leaf, but there's loads of brown on it. And there's some new leaves coming in here, which don't yet have any brown on them. So I know it's not that the core is rotted, and I'm also really careful about how I water this plant so that I don't cause it to rot in the middle of it. So I don't think it's, well, I know it's not that, but it's obviously not happy. And then because it's not been very happy, oh gosh, it's quite stuck in here. Oh, wow. Okay. Right. There's quite a lot of roots all coming out the base here. Are you just root bound? Is that your problem? Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Okay. Right. Right. So that's what the roots are looking like. They don't look super healthy, but I know fern roots can look like this sometimes, and it can sometimes be difficult. Are these rotted? I find it quite difficult to tell with ferns. Is the plant just a no-go? Quite a lot of these are just pulling off. It's a tricky one. Can you see this? Like they've just become so like fibrous, and they've just completely formed the shape of that pot. And I don't know what to do with this. Yeah, I think it's a goner. It's really not my day today because my camera just ran out of storage. So I had to stop again. Right, I ended up pulling off quite a lot of these roots, and it's really difficult because ferns do have these very like fibrous and brown looking roots, but some of them are just coming off like super easily, and it doesn't smell like rot. So I may have just hacked this way too much, but I'm going to leave it now as is, repot it using this fern mix, try and reposition it a bit so it's more central. I'm going to chop off that leaf there because it's got brown on it. I'm going to chop off that bit there because that's also got some brown on it. And I was umming and ahhing about whether just to throw this in the bin because it's currently not sparking any joy, because when I got it, it had such beautiful lush leaves, and now these leaves they've got holes in them, there's lots of brown tips. It's just not a vibe. But see, look at what I mean, they're just coming off these roots so easily. One last chance saloon for this guy. Let's put it in a clear pot, and that way I can keep an eye on the root system better. See if I can see any signs of new roots forming. Okay, again, I'm going to use this new soil mix, fern mix. Got one last shot, mate. Okay, one last shot and then it's the end of the road for you, buddy boy. And then I'm going to give the leaves a really good clean after this because they're super dusty. And because this plant tends to, like, if you water it into the middle or shower it, this core section in the middle can rot, and that's where the new growth comes from. I don't tend to shower this plant as frequently as some of my other plants because I'm just always a bit scared that it's going to rot in the middle. So I'm going to give the leaves a really good clean after this. One last shot for this plant. I was really thinking that I might just throw it in the bin just then. One last shot, and then if that doesn't work, then we have definitely tried. What I might also do is put just checking it's all settled everywhere, which it is. What I might also do is put a little bit of sphagnum moss on the top, just around the core here, just to keep in a little bit more moisture, and see if that makes you happy. But yeah, these leaves are definitely like proper dusty crusty. Oh, my little microphone thing came off. Oh, I am not having a good day today. Wow. Okay, let's get cleaned up, and then I'm going to clean these leaves. Okay, so that's it for this video. We have actually managed to try and attempt to rescue quite a few plants, even though we've had many a technical mishap. So if you have stayed until the end, thank you so much for watching, and I will endeavour to do better technically in the future, and make sure that my microphone's charged and that my camera has enough storage in it. Anyway, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Please like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.